Hello everyone, welcome to Friday Night Countdown. Rich Hagon, Brian David-Marshall coming to you from Magic Stronghold Games here in Vancouver, the day after Pro Tour Magic Origins. BDM, it was the last Pro Tour of the season and it was a great end to a great season.
Yeah, Pro Tours are always exciting, but there's something really special about that last event of a season. There's more on the line than just the championship. There's the Player of the Year title to be determined, there's the puzzle pieces for the World Championship to be filled in, and there's all the different races that get determined by the end of year results, and a lot of those results were determined in this top 8.
Why don't we take a look at all the Sunday action from the top 8 of Pro Tour Magic Origins. Dragon Lord Ataka is the biggest of the big, and Green Red Devotion looks to power her out as soon and as viciously as possible, with a plethora of mana ramp and the powerful Nykthos Shrine to Nyx. Along the way, Polukranos, World Eater, Genesis Hydra, and Whisperwood Elemental provide plenty of beef. Regarded as the deck to beat coming into Pro Tour Magic Origins, the deck hardly disappointed as Paul Jackson made it to the semi-finals on the back of the Green Monsters before falling to the faster and nearly as big Blue-Red in Soul Artifact deck at the hands of Mike Sigrist.
The breakout deck of Pro Tour Magic Origins took advantage of artifact synergies across both this year's core set and Magic 2015. In Soul Artifact, Shrapnel Blast, Ornithopter, and Darksteel Citadel, combined with newcomers Hangerback Walker, Chief of the Foundry, and Whirler Rogue to form a formidably fast artifact deck with the speed of a modern deck. Capable of attacking with 5/5s on the second turn, both Mike Sigrist and Stefan Barrios rode the synergistic and speedy deck into the top 8. Barrios fell in the quarters, and Sigrist ran out of steam in the finals, but not before earning himself Player of the Year honors.
Grindy is the word that best describes the Abzan Megamorph deck, as Deathmist Raptor and Den Protector combine to positively grind opponents into dust, turn after turn after turn. Complete with the typical Abzan fare, Thoughtseize, Siege Rhino, Hero's Downfall, and Elspeth's Son's Champion, the deck also utilises and fills its graveyard with Satyr Wayfinder to take advantage of both the Raptor and the Protector. And the deck served Kentaro Yamamoto well, cruising into the top 8, before finding himself a touch too slow to compete with the Blue-Red in Soul Artifact deck.
Planeswalkers, 2-for-1s, and cheap interaction. The Abzan deck looks to gain incremental advantage with Courser of Kruphix, Abzan Charm, Den Protector, and more, before setting up Elspeth's Son's Champion or Ugin the Spirit Dragon for the big finish. And if all else fails, there's always Siege Rhino. All of these cards were definitely controlled by Matt Sperling, who carefully navigated a field full of aggressive decks to make it to the semifinals, before finally succumbing to the most populous deck in the top 8, Red Aggro.
Red was the way at Pro Tour Magic Origins, as nearly half the top 8 used a combination of Stoke the Flames, Exquisite Firecraft, Lightning Strike, and Searing Blood to clear the way for Monastery Swiftspear, Eidolon of the Great Revel, Zergo Bell Striker, and a variety of dash creatures to quickly reduce life totals from 20 to 0. Joel Larsson, Stephen Neal, and Pat Cox all chose to align themselves with the Flame, though things looked dim at first as both Neal and Cox fell in the quarterfinals. But Larsson burned bright and carried the torch all the way to a title, triumphing over Blue-Red in Soul Artifact and Mike Sigrist for the trophy.
Just minutes after winning the title, Joel had a message to players heading to Friday Night Magic who were thinking about picking up the deck his team dubbed Red Deck Wins Again.
If you want to play the deck at maybe your FNM, you should always have a game plan. Think of your hand, think about what happens when you open your hand. Does it have a game plan or not? If it doesn't, toss it. Also, remember, this is Red Deck Wins, so you can operate on very few mana sources. So it's definitely okay to keep a one-lander, for example, especially on the draw. The best cards in the deck is definitely Searing Blood, followed by Abbot of Carol Keep and Exquisite Firecraft. So I think those are your best cards, so try to remember that when you open your hands next time at FNM.
Magic Origins was certainly on display during the top 8, but the influence of the latest Magic set was seen throughout the weekend.
On day 2 of Pro Tour Magic Origins, we went out onto the floor for Friday Night Countdown to talk to the pros about what decks they saw on display and what they would be playing this weekend at Friday Night Magic. and it wasn't always the deck they brought to the Pro Tour.
All right, so Ken Yukihiro, he smashed me yesterday with this Hardened Scales deck, where he played Avatar of the Resolute, and then he played Citadel Siege, and the Citadel Siege was putting 3 counters on the Avatar every turn. I was chump blocking with Dragon Lord Atarka, and he was still trampling over to almost kill me. It was awesome. I have to play that deck.
I mean, it's not even close. I am going to be returning Demonic Pacts with Invasive Species. Our team tested trying to figure out Demonic Pact, and we would like use blue spells to bounce it, because it's better to bounce than kill it. But getting to put 9 power through Woodland Bellowers into Invasive Species into play, like, and you get to reset it, it just seems disgusting. So like, that deck is phenomenal.
I definitely would try out Kyle Blogmus's green, white, black Constellation deck. I think that it's got Sigil the Empty Throne, which is fun. It's got, you know, life gain for mono red. I think it's a great deck.
Definitely my blue-red mill deck. It's a lot of fun. You draw a ton of cards, you get to mill people out, and you get to play a lot of cards that your opponents are going to have to read, which is always fun.
I would definitely play the blue-red Thopter deck. You know, same deck I played at the Pro Tour. It's great. The deck's so much fun to play. Your first couple turns are just crazy. You know, an Ornithopter's never been more scary for your opponent. You could just be attacking them for turn, you know, for 5 on turn 2. You know, you can play like 3 or 4 permanents on turn 1 while your opponent plays a tap land and passes. So the deck's just a lot of fun to play, and it may not be the best deck in a couple weeks because it's pretty vulnerable to some specific sideboard hate, but it's definitely the deck I would take to FNM. It's a lot of fun.
Well, a lot of people would probably think that I would be doing some sort of black-blue anti-red, you know, change it around to make sure that I'm got my guns on shooting at the red deck. But actually, I'd actually be grabbing the red deck. I love red. If you don't know that about me, well, go way back in time. I love red a lot. I almost played our Team Ultra Pro's red deck and Exquisite Firecraft. I just want that and some Abbots. Start going red to the head. That would be what I'd be doing on Friday Night Magic.
And of course, you can find out much more about all the best decks from the Pro Tour on the Magic website.
One of the decks that Adrian Sullivan mentioned was the red deck as played by Team Ultra Pro. Pat Cox was in the top 8 with that deck. Platinum Pro Sam Black played that deck. And Sam was really kind enough to sit down with Friday Night Countdown and run us through some of the key Magic Origins cards that make that red deck sizzle.
Okay, this is my mono red burn deck from Pro Tour Origins. It's really straightforward, 20 burn spells, 19 creatures, a little trick, 20 lands. The creatures are designed to be as fast as possible, maximize haste, get a quick impact before they can get languished away, and to always be able to attack into 1 toughness creatures like Goblin Tokens and Satyr Wayfinder. The burn spells are just cards that are going to get blockers out of the way and damage my opponent. Searing Blood is the best for that, but the other cards are good too. Heel Cutter functions kind of a burn spell, kind of creature, it gets rid of blockers. Real straightforward deck, real straightforward play. Just cast your guys, burn out their blockers, hit them. If they get too many creatures, just start going to the face with your burn spells. Abbot of Carol Keep, the red Snapcaster Mage, is really the perfect addition to any mono-red burn deck. The ability to play it early if you don't have another 2-drop and have a prowess creature that's going to get an extra damage when you use a removal spell to get rid of your opponent's creatures to attack with your team is just a great start for the card. But then anytime turn 3 or later when you play it, there's an increasing probability that you'll just draw an extra card. And later in the game, the more likely you are to need that to push you over, just outstanding. Exquisite Firecraft was a great additional burn spell for this deck. Any burn deck is looking for 4 damage out of a single card, and Exquisite Firecraft is flexible in that it can hit players or creatures, which makes sure that it's good against any deck, a great main deck card, and against control going along, it means that you have an inevitability instead of them when they've built their deck to have an inevitability in the late game. So being able to flip the roles on a control player just gives the deck a whole new dimension. Molten Vortex out of the sideboard against control is like an Exquisite Firecraft, only even more extreme, because now every land you draw is another 2-point burn spell that they can't counter, and there's no way that they can draw more Radiant Fountains than you draw Mountains. Beyond that, in a mirror match, this allows you to trade off any resource you draw for one of your opponent's threats, making the game go long and letting your extra lands turn into spells while their extra lands do nothing. The sideboard complements this in a pretty straightforward fashion. You have your anti-creature stuff over here against big green guys. You want to be able to roast them off the board, stop them from blocking your guys, kill their mana guys up here. This is also great, Mirror, Jeskai, anyone with 2 toughness creatures where you just can't get enough, killing that for 1 mana, get ahead on board. It's a great way to do that. Also really good against rally type decks where exiling the creature is going to matter. Good against a Jutai's Command with Soulfire Grandmaster. Very nice versatile extra burn spell. Down here we have the package of cards that come in against control decks and the mirror, and that includes the Heel Cutter and all these. In a mirror match, you're going to end up killing each other's creatures with all these burn spells are going to become removal spells. The matchup gets much more grindy. You're going to want to be able to get your card advantage and punish them when they tap out for that kind of thing. And down here we have just a little bit of preparation in case it's the mirror with the twist where they have Hordling Outburst. Because you have so much spot removal, sometimes your opponent can get ahead on tokens. Just a little miser's way to clean them up and keep attacking for the win. Straightforward burn deck, easy to play, great positioning in the metagame, really good place to get started for FNM.
It's time to turn our attention now to the 40 card format. And BDM, Magic Origins Limited is quick.
Yeah, one of the first things we saw when we were watching people draft this weekend was a card like Topin Freeblade, a very powerful 2-drop being drafted over more expensive removal spells like Lightning Javelin and Unholy Hunger. And that's really not something you normally see in some of the older draft formats.
Right, I guess part of that is because of the new mechanic Renowned. It kind of demands that you either block or at the very least have some kind of plan.
Yeah, people did not want to let renowned creatures through, did not want to get hit by them, let that creature become bigger, even more difficult to block on the later turns. And as a result, what we really saw at this tournament was, those removal spells I was talking about before, well, those have been replaced by combat tricks. They're almost serving the same role. Things like Titanic Growth and Titan Strength, and really the MVP out of all those cards, Enshrouding Mists.
You can see every pick from every pack for 16 of our best players on the Pro Tour Draft Viewer, and that includes freshly crowned Player of the Year, Mike Sigrist.
Mike Sigrist is a limited mastermind. He sat down for Friday Night Countdown to show us how he took the 45 cards he drafted and turned it into a deck that was a big part of his run to become the 2015 Magic the Gathering Player of the Year.
Hi, I'm Mike Sigrist. I'm here to talk to you about drafting and focusing on mana curve and prioritizing removal and all that good stuff. When you're drafting your deck, you want to first focus on removal. That's how I do it. Bombs and stuff, obviously you want to take those, but when you're drafting the commons, focus on the common removal spells. You want to be able to play, after that you want to be able to play a creature every turn of the game that you can, so you want to have an equally distributed amount of creatures on each part of the curve. My deck, as you can see, I only have 2 2-drops. There was a lack of them in the draft, and at that point, in pack 3, I had to select a Leaf Glider over a Woodland Bellower. The Woodland Bellower is a much more powerful card, but I was going to fall way too far behind if I don't have more 2-drops to get my game plan going, especially with the 3 Wild Instincts with the removal spells that I took pretty high. This is a removal spell that requires you to have a creature in play, so you want to make sure you have creatures that come up before that. So this Knight of the Pilgrim Road, for instance, is a pretty mid-level card, but it's a lot more powerful when you can play it on turn 3, kill their creature on turn 4, and then trigger the Renown ability, making it an above-the-curve creature, if you will. Above the curve means it's got a bigger power and toughness than most other creatures in that part of the curve. After you've drafted your deck, during the draft you want to focus on that mana curve and kind of have an idea of it in your head, but after that, there's also choices you want to make when you're building your deck. Like I have 2 of this Hitchclaw Recluse in my deck and not Charging Griffin. This is a much more powerful card, but I had to revert back to that. I have these Wild Instincts, and if I don't have a creature to play on this turn of the game, I'm going to fall way too far behind, have to play a 4-drop before I can play my Wild Instincts. So after you draft your deck, you want to focus on those things as well, and not just what's the more powerful card, jam them into your deck with however many lands. For instance, in this deck, I have a really high part of the curve. I think I counted during construction, and I had more than half my spells cost 4 or more mana, or approximately half. So I ended up playing 18 land. Typically, you play 17 land, but it's really important that I make a land drop every turn of the game in order to not fall far behind, because I don't have that many low drops, and the ones I do have are kind of lackluster. So when you have a deck like that, you want to add more lands to your deck to make sure. I usually never play 19, I have before, but 17 and 18 is generally where you want to be. And that's my thought process when I'm building the deck, and I hope you learned something.
I'm here with Magic Stronghold Games Manager Cody Otter, and we're talking a little bit about Friday Night Magic. Cody, tell me about what Friday Night Magic looks like here at Magic Stronghold Games.
Well, we have several different Friday Night Magic events. We have a Commander event earlier in the evening, a Standard event, and then in the evening we have a Draft event as well.
What kind of turnout do you get for those?
About 20 to 40 depending on the event.
Oh, crazy. Yeah. Now, Pro Tour Magic Origins was just here in Vancouver. Were your Standard players pretty excited about seeing what would happen to the format?
Very, very much so. People were speculating the Friday night of the Pro Tours, what events or what decks would be in the Pro Tour, and then we did see a lot of Monored and the Thopter deck as well.
Was that something people thought was going to be there?
Yes, yeah. People were trying it out already, so yeah.
All right, these guys knew what was up.
Oh yeah, they were seeing everything, all the deck lists that were just coming out just before. So.
And then, are you expecting to see a lot of people bringing the decks from the Pro Tour to Friday Night Magic this week?
Yeah, very much so.
What's been the big excitement?
I think the Thopter deck is the most popular.
So Friday Night Magic's been opened to a number of new formats, and I heard you mention Commander earlier. How big an impact has that change had on your Friday Night Magic attendance?
We get a lot more people coming out. The casual players who kind of shied away from the competitive now come out to our Friday Night Magic because they have a place.
How about you? Do you have a Commander deck?
Yes. Yeah.
Who's your Commander?
Niv Mizzet. Old Niv Mizzet.
So you like blue-red in all the formats.
Oh, yes.
Okay. For Cody Otter, this is Brian David-Marshall from Magic Stronghold Games.
Our milestone moment here on Friday Night Countdown is, of course, the Magic the Gathering Pro Tour Hall of Fame.
We announced the 2015 class of the Pro Tour Hall of Fame, and it is made up of 3 worthy players. The United States' Eric Froelich, Japan's Shota Yasuoka, and Brazil's Willie Adel. Congratulations to all 3 of them.
Adel and Froelich came to talk exclusively to Friday Night Countdown, and as you'll see, their Magic stories span 3 generations.
My dad's reaction when he found out I got elected to the Hall of Fame was mostly elation, lots of joy. My dad is the greatest dad. Everything I've done in my entire life, my dad has taken an interest in. I wanted to play sports, play baseball, basketball growing up. My dad didn't know how to coach those things, but he signed up to coach those things. I wanted to learn Magic when I was 10 years old. Rule book didn't make sense to me. He's like, I'll read it, I'll teach you how to play. He flew with me to all my events for years up until I graduated, because a lot of my pro tours were before I graduated high school, and so this was international travel, and my dad came with me to everything, to Japan, to Europe multiple times, to Australia, and so he was always there. Very personable guy, and made friends with all of my friends, never judges anyone, was always very supportive. And so for something that means this much to me, for me to get recognized for the highest honor, I think it means probably just as much to him, which makes me, even more proud. My dad's a great guy, and I'd like to do anything I ever can to make him happy. And so I think this was a big one, although my dad thinks I should have gotten the Hall of Fame years ago, so who knows.
The Hall of Fame has a lot of benefits, like there's appreciation fees, like lifetime invites, buys. By far the best one is the lifetime invites, because I have a 1-year-old son, and maybe in the future, like if he happens to like Magic, if he wants to play Magic, if he wants to be good, I can help him a little bit. And if he ever qualified for the Pro Tour, like he'll have like a playtest partners. So maybe in the future, like it will be like a dream to play. Like maybe they do like a Pro Tour, like to have the Giants again. Who knows? And I have a partner. Like I don't know. Like it will be super cool.
The season may be over, but there's so much great Magic to look forward to, especially the World Championship beginning August 27th, coming to you from PAX Prime in Seattle, Washington. And BDM, 24 of the best players on Earth will be on show.
Yeah, headlined, I think, by Shahar Shenhar. He's won this event the last 2 years in a row, and he's going for his unprecedented third straight World Championship.
There's the rerun of the Player of the Year race between Mike Sigrist and Eric Froelich.
We just watched Joel Larsson win Pro Tour Magic Origins, and now he'll be looking to follow up at the World Championships.
You'll also see Paula Vita Dama da Rosa of Brazil in action.
Yeah, 23 players in this tournament all fear one man. Yuya Watanabe of Japan. He's played in all 4 of these tournaments that have been held, and he's the guy everyone cites when they talk about who they're scared to play at the highest level of the game.
It's been a fantastic pro season, and we're going to do it all again for you. Join us again, but until we do meet again here on Friday Night Countdown, coming to you from Magic Stronghold Games in Vancouver, for Brian David-Marshall, I'm your host, Rich Hagon, saying bye.